country and be your United States Senator, I will do everything I humanly can to try to help both individuals as well as just try to fix the broader problems that we face and make sure that we have the kind of support and follow up and care that each and every one of you deserves. And again, that should not be a partisan issue. That should just be an American issue, something that we all recognize is part of our responsibility to those who carry the burden of protecting our country. And so that is something that I commit to yet again, and I hope all of us do. It's not just for elected officials and for government officials. All of us should be able to think through what we can do to try to care for our veterans, our service members that are doing so much for our country. And as I said, as we get to this conversation, we're looking towards the next 250 years, not just the last 250 years. And I think that that's an exciting framework to think through, that we're on this cusp here. So how do we learn from the past and move forward and think through how we can further unite instead of divide this country and be able to build? So we have three incredible heroes here today that I'd like to introduce. I'll say their names and then we'll start off by having them say, we'll take a few minutes to be able to speak to everyone. We'll have some opportunities for questions, so please feel free to type in questions, especially the young kids out there. We've already seen some come in, and please, I would love to hear from you, anything that you have on your minds. But just to be able to introduce our three guests, we have U.S. Air Force veteran Staff Sergeant Jim Fleischman. We have U.S. Navy veteran Commander Stephen Kozlowski and Commander Dan Cahill, and Naval Reserve Officer. So just again, please, everybody, just welcome our incredible guests. Jim, if you don't mind, maybe we'll start with you, then we'll go to Stephen and to Dan. So Jim, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Well, my career in the Air Force started October 12th, 1967. It was Columbus Day. Prior to coming into the Air Force, there was lots of tests and whatever. But we finally went to Newark, New Jersey, and took a train ride to Amarillo, Texas. And when I got down to Amarillo, Texas, we were met by a training instructor, and they took us to get some uniforms, feed us, and they said, go to bed. We'll get up tomorrow and we'll start, because we got down there late. When we got up the next morning, we were all assembled out in the courtyard, and by accident, I got thrown to the ground and broke my wrist. Wasn't supposed to happen, but that's just one of those things. Next thing you know, the next morning, base commander calls me and says, come in my office. He knew exactly what happened. He says, you got two choices. You can go home or you can go to school. And I said, I'm going to school. And I went to Champaign, Illinois, Rantoul Air Force Base, and they started to teach all about B-52s. And it was exciting to wander around these airplanes. They showed us a lot of different things. They started teaching us systems. And after, I think it was 6-7 months, they said, okay, it's time for your first PCS station, permanent change of station, which happened to be Dover, Delaware. But Dover, Delaware did not have B-52s. It became a place to go to learn on C-141s. And that's what I did. I worked on C-141s, learned systems, and it was pretty good because Dover, Delaware was only about 3-4 hours away from my home. So if I had a couple of days, I could run home and see family. After we were there for a little while, the Air Force saw fit to move the whole squadron from Dover, Delaware to McGuire Air Force Base. And that's where I spent the rest of my career. I soon became a crew chief on a C-141, responsible for the aircraft before it takes off. He worked with the pilot and co-pilot, making sure all the systems are correct. You had about 8 people that worked for you because you can't do it all yourself. And we would make sure that it was ready to go on a mission. And missions, they were scheduled and they wanted to be on time, just like civilian airlines. after I was there for a while, I became the crew chief on the airplane, and I was responsible for the total airplane. If it was supposed to leave at 6 o'clock in the morning, I had to make sure it was ready to go at 6. Once the airplane took off, you had a couple of days off, depending on where it was going. As I progressed through my career, I had some acquaintances on the base that made sure that I progressed where I should go. And one of the things I really enjoyed is I got put on flying stacks, which meant you flew with the airplane where it was going. Missions like the War College trips, these are all the military, they called them military brats, but all the officers that were going to learn military law and whatever, would bring all these people to their home countries for a ball. We'd get to fly there, land the airplane, and say, we'll see you in 3 days, took off and brought you to another station. There was things that I did as far as flying. Used to go to, in Europe, you'd fly to Frankfurt, Germany, and go to Insula, Turkey, Athens, Greece, all those arranged. And we often called ourselves the UPS FedEx drivers of the military, because what we did is we delivered people and packages to all places in the world. One of the things I got qualified to do was engine run qualified. C-141 is a airplane that's about 160 feet square as far as wingtip to wingtip and nose to nose. And it has 4 big engines on it. And I got to go in the pilot seat and run these things full max for maintenance things that you did. And at 21 years of age, I thought I was pretty hot stuff. This was pretty cool. Not everybody could do it. In fact, there's only a couple of us that could, because then they didn't have to bring a pilot out there to do things. The engine runs were done for air conditioning and power and whatever. Let's see. After I was there for a good period of time, traveled back and forth to Europe and different countries. It was getting closer to when it was time for me to make a decision whether I was getting out of the Air Force or continuing. I was fortunate. I had some access to schools, and I went to school for RCA and became a television cameraman technician for them. I worked for a couple different ABC, NBC, but I ended up at CBS for almost 34 years. So that's pretty much where I went in my career. And then to talk about the 250 years, 250 years coming up now is not going to be the same 250 years coming. When I went in the service, the draft was there. There is no draft today. The pay is more than what we used to, but nobody makes any money in the military. This is just the fact of life. We went through all these different wars, and a lot of people lost their lives. And even in this past, say, 10 years, a lot of people have lost their lives. What's the next 250 going to be? I don't have a crystal ball, but you got to realize that the technology has changed drastically. The missiles, the rockets are all computer controlled. They fly drones. They do all kinds of things that we never had before. So that's pretty much where I see it coming for the next 250 years.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your story, and I definitely loved hearing about it, and wanted to be able to talk a little bit more. Why don't we get through some of the others first? So, Stephen, and then Dan. Stephen, if you'd like to unmute and share your story.
Okay, thank you, Senator. Stephen Kozlowski. I just retired a couple of years ago from almost 30 years in the United States Navy. Started my career at the United States Naval Academy, got my commission, and then went to become a surface warfare officer driving ships. The beautiful thing about my career, similar to Jim's, is that yes, I had my specialty, but I pretty much did everything else as well too. I drove 4 ships, did port and harbor security on small boats. Also went to overseas to Saudi Arabia. I did foreign affairs and working with foreign militaries, both in Asia and the Middle East. Absolutely incredible career. Ended it doing training and education, training future officers at a naval ROTC unit in Maryland. Had an absolutely incredible career. I've seen some of the questions in the Q&A list, and just to answer it, for me, definitely worth it. I don't know how much I would change. Had a great time. When we talk about veteran contributions to the United States over the last 250 years, you know, the first thing that comes up often is George Washington, Teddy Roosevelt, Eisenhower, John Kennedy, these titans of American history. You know, we can include astronauts, senators, CEOs, governors, other high-profile leaders across the country. But based on my experience, I think their contributions pale in comparison to those who simply go back to their communities, the ones we don't read about in the history books, contributing quietly to raising the next generation of Americans, whether in the service or out. I start this based on my father, my experience. He was an Army veteran from the Vietnam era, raised me to be the man I am today. He currently rests at the County Veterans Cemetery in Crest Haven. I was a member of the Boy Scouts. We had quite a few veterans that were the adult leaders in the Boy Scouts. And after all, the Boy Scouts were founded by a British veteran, Sir Robert Baden-Powell, who hadn't quite finished his service yet either. And it was a veteran working in the guidance office at Middle Township High School that helped me apply and ultimately get accepted to the United States Naval Academy, starting my own military career. You know, we see this throughout the country and local communities around the country, that many veterans like myself, like the others here, we continue our service well after hanging up our uniform. I just have to look at the work our veteran service organizations like the VFW, American Legion, Disabled American Veterans, and so many others do, both for other veterans and active duty servicemen, as well as for youth in their local communities. They contribute so many dollars and hours towards their local communities, just doing so much. We also have many veterans choosing to go into public service, whether in government or nonprofits, working to make things better for all of us. As I was told by a Marine drill sergeant once, in a much louder and direct voice, any decision, even a bad one, is better than no decision at all. Our veterans of every service have taken that bias towards action into civilian life and continue to move us all forward. Might not always agree on the direction, but it's veterans who have driven us since well before independence. We now, going forward, have a new generation of veterans ready to serve their communities and their nation. We already see this new generation taking the mantle of public office in Congress and in state houses and local areas around the nation and world. I have a few of my classmates from the Naval Academy who've already served in Congress or have run for offices around the country. Most of us are also raising families of our own, and like myself, have chosen to go into teaching, raising the next generation of citizens, not just military, but citizens in general. Basically, I'll finish. Veterans have never backed away from a challenge or mission. When our nation has come calling, our answer has always been yes. Since before 1776, we've always answered our nation's call, and I can only see us continuing to do so as we go forward. My generation is just an example. My son's generation will do the same thing, and we'll keep this nation running well. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing that. I really appreciate your time. Dan, over to you.
Absolutely. Good morning, everybody. My name is Commander Dan Cahill with the U.S. Navy. And just for the record, I'm speaking as a veteran, not for the U.S. Navy. Thank you, Senator Kim and staff for hosting this event. What an outstanding opportunity. And that's kind of how I start my story, because Senator Ted Kennedy from Massachusetts actually started me in my Navy career in 1992 when he appointed me to go to the United States Merchant Marine Academy. I was sworn into the Navy as an enlisted E-1 midshipman in September of 1992. At the United States Merchant Marine Academy, I did 3 operational deployments, worked as an engineer, and in 1998 graduated with a commission as a special duty officer, engineering. Now, you may be asking yourselves, wait a second, did you get a master's degree from Merchant Marine Academy after you spent 6 years there? And the answer is no. I was just kind of not the best cadet or midshipman. It took me 6 years, but I was lucky enough to be offered a job as a nuclear engineer, civilian nuclear engineer with the U.S. Navy after graduation. And because I was doing engineering in my civilian job, I started to see, geez, do I really want to be doing that in the Navy? And at that point, I decided, you know what? I think I'm going to change my designator, change my branch or area of specialty in the Navy to intelligence, which I did. It was a little challenging, but it happened. It actually happened right before the USS Cole bombing. Shortly thereafter, I was recalled to active duty as an intel officer to support operations in Jebel Ali, United Arab Emirates, which was the location where the U.S. Navy got a majority of its fuel and supplies to operate in the Persian Gulf, which at the time was still a pretty contentious place. I was very young. I was maybe 26, 27 years old when I was sent off with a unit of reservists who specialized in port security, naval coastal warfare. And it was, for me, one of the first impressions was, you know, I'm a young guy. I don't have much tying me down, but here's all these people who volunteered for this mission, who have families at home, who have children at home, who have careers at home, jobs at home that may not be as flexible and understanding, but they thought the mission was important enough for them to go, for them to be there. And just to give those who may not have served a glimpse into the military through this lens, there's a lot of professions in the United States where you have to put yourself in harm's way. Most of those jobs that aren't military, you get to go home to your family at night, or you get to see your family regularly. These folks left their families, and they didn't see them for 6 months to a year. So your military family becomes your family. You're with them just about 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You celebrate holidays with them. That becomes your second family, that unit that you're assigned to, that unit that you deploy with. While I was there, I actually served. There was one sailor who had served during Vietnam that was still on active duty. And he told me stories about some of the World War II veterans who he served with when he first joined. So I take a look at that in the context of, you know, 250 years is a pretty long time, but I was getting some of the lessons and some of the things that were instilled in that Vietnam veteran by World War II veterans. And because I'm still in the reserves, I'm actually lucky enough to be able to say that I served in the first 250 years of the United States Navy and the second 250 years of the United States Navy. The other takeaway from that deployment was that we were a small unit. There wasn't a lot of redundancy. We were maybe about 100 folks that were responsible for protecting every naval vessel that came in and out of the port of Jebel Ali in the Persian Gulf. And there was a lot of responsibility, and I think that Jim and Stephen had mentioned it as well. I was the only intel officer on watch 12 hours every day. If I made a mistake, if I missed something, that put the rest of the unit at risk. And I looked at my peers who weren't in the military and what they were doing, and I saw, you know, that the government, the Navy has really entrusted me with a lot of responsibility. And I've always appreciated that. Since then, I mobilized twice again. I've served all over the world. I've served in Southcom, the Middle East, Europe, and the sailors I lead now in the Navy, they're going to carry the Navy into this next 250 years. And what I am today is a culmination of all those who served before me and have influenced my leaders and influenced the folks that I've had the honor of leading. So the tradition of the Navy
What time are you leaving?
and everybody
Oh,
who
okay,
has
never mind
served
then.
adds a little bit to the next
I'm
journey.
just trying something special on live streaming, you know.
Recently, I
And your
had the
brother don't
opportunity
answer, so I was going to have a
go to
second
Ukraine.
opinion.
This was prior to the most recent invasion.
Well,
And
Andy Kim's doing
train
a
the Ukrainian
Veterans
Navy to make
Day
them more effective in
live
defending
stream
themselves.
something, so I'm trying to
And that
stream
was
that.
an amazing opportunity for
So I'm looking at it. It looks pretty good. You know, there's a couple things I haven't got working. Of course, your brother's not awake. You know,
pretty significant impact in light of what's
no,
happened.
don't worry about it. It's not important. I just wanted a second opinion
One
while
of
I
the
was
things that was
running.
more
You know?
acute for them than it was for
I don't,
me.
I
because,
don't see
again,
any
I was gonna be
comments or
able to
anything
go
like that.
home
So I
after
must
that,
not have too many
mission to train
good
Ukrainians.
followers.
They
You
were
know.
gonna have to stick around.
Okay, be
And that
careful.
is that they were serving something
Who's that?
bigger than themselves.
Is that your mom?
And that's what I've been able to do.
Okay, talk to you later, bud.
As a member
Bye.
of the U.S. Navy is be part of something that's bigger than myself. And I think that family, that first family I had in the military, that first Christmas away back in 2000, it meant a lot to me. But now that I've served longer, I see that that connection is actually a connection I have with all veterans who have served, because all of us made that conscious choice to support and defend the Constitution of the United States in a military uniform in harm's way. So anytime I see any of my fellow veterans, even if they were never in the Navy, they were in the Coast Guard, Air Force, Marine Corps, Army, there's that connection. There's that connection that we have, that we had that shared sense of purpose and service. And that's one of the things I get to do Veterans Day, is to tell some stories about what I think makes service in the military so amazing, and maybe give those who haven't served a little peek into my experiences. I will leave that there, but I do look forward to any questions that people may have.
Thank you, Commander. So now we're going to take some questions live. So I'm going to start with Lucas Alves. You submitted a few questions from your kids, and we'd love to hear from them. So I'm going to unmute you, and you can ask the questions live. You're live, Lucas.
First person we have is Lucas. Lucas, can you ask your question?
What do you do when the holiday season comes around?
Maybe Commander Cahill, do you want to take that? What do you do around the holiday season?
Oh, what's the holiday season like for the military is the question, if I understand it correctly?
Give that insight.
Yeah, so I got to tell you, as I kind of talked about, the military really is a family. And when you visit any military installation, there are more decorations than you will see in probably any of your family's homes. The holiday decorations, whatever you happen to be celebrating during the holiday season, you will see recognition of that everywhere, on ships, military facilities. I mean, again, there are some safety issues when you're on a ship, but you will definitely get a sense of that shared military family celebrating the holiday season.
Thank you. Lucas, I know you had like one or two other questions from the kids, if you want to just say those.
Sure. So this is Leonardo.
Why did you join the military?
maybe Stephen or Jim, if you want to take that one.
That one, believe it or not, it wasn't anything altruistic or anything like that. I had a lot of, as I said when I talked earlier, there were a lot of good role models as a kid growing up who were veterans, including my father. But the ultimate reason was I wanted to fly, and that seemed like the best way to, get into fast, high-speed jets. Now, didn't end up doing that in my career, and I don't regret that. I still had a good one, but a lot of it was just the role models I had and what I wanted to do.
Thank you. Okay, we can take one more from the Alves family, maybe for Jim.
Okay, this is Gabriel.
All right. Do you guys think like serving you did was worth it?
Oh, I think so. For one thing, once you join the military, you grow up. You have to grow up. When young people go in the military, they really have had not a whole lot of responsibility in their lifetime. But you learn quickly that people depend on you, what you have to do, and as everyone else said, you become a family. Everyone knows that you're required to do so much and contribute, and if you don't, people, I think you can get to feel bad after it. I didn't get to mention, once you leave the military, there's a lot of reserve units and people doing it. And I happen to be a member of the American Legion. And what we do for the people, I started a program, it's called Home for the Holidays. We would send military people home for Christmas, New Year's, on our dime. They wouldn't pay a thing. We'd put them in a car, send them to the airport, they go home, and this is how they got to, some of these people get to spend the holidays. I can tell you, I worked a lot of Christmases in a cockpit of a C-141. Holidays, military, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So you do have to give up your own personal holidays a lot.
Thanks, Jim. We did also get some questions in advance. So here is one from Wendy. We are living through a divided time. What did you learn in the military that could help us come together? Jim, you can start us off with that.
What did we learn in the military? You learn that you're all in for one common good. You do things to help your friends, your neighbors, and your comrades in service. So therefore, it's a growing process that you experience in whatever military service you're in.
Mind jumping in on this?
Sure. Dan Cahill here. I think when you are in the military, your purpose and mission is very clear. The chain of command is very clear. If it's something that is a longer term thing, they may ask your opinion as the expert on your job, the best way to accomplish it. But at the end of the day,
what, the one I got live, broadcasted live?
It's too like so.
Most of the discussions, or I would even say debates, is what's the best way to get this done.
I'm trying to figure that out myself, but at least okay. But my question,
because you need to continue with the mission, and most of those questions that arise are about.
I can't believe you can hear me. I don't know. I'm mixing up two pieces of software.
I actually.
Okay, how does the can you hear the people talking and everything?
More of that common mission.
Listen to the commander now.
Good.
He's on the screen. There's a guy that was I don't know if
Yeah,
he was
I
a
think,
pilot or what. There's a lady.
one of the advantages we had in the military, and both Dan and Jim mentioned.
I don't know if I'm going to
is
get yelled
we were
at
like
because I'm
family.
putting across,
And
it says welcome to New USS
in
New Jersey
family,
South Base, across the bottom.
you always have that crazy uncle or what you were going to say.
Good.
At the Thanksgiving table, right?
I don't-
There's that in the
I don't know.
military, too.
I've been waiting for a
But
phone call to get yelled
like
at.
family, you're always treating everybody with respect, no matter who they are, where they came from.
Yeah, and then every once in a while I put on there the
So it's
welcome to
it's
Senator
really
Andy
important.
Kim's
We
Veterans
join
Day
this
Town
extended
Hall.
family that we go anywhere. Hey, there's a veteran at a bar. Oh my God, I was here. You were here. Everything like that. It's an incredible.
But anyway, at least
probably the most
it's working and everything.
as the nukes would say it, have a questioning attitude.
I got
Question.
I got two
everything.
people. I got two people watching right now. I don't know who it is. Probably
that's
you.
actually the most
That's the only
important
thing
time
wrong
to
with
question
this.
it.
You can't tell.
That's one of the things too, when we talked about, dealing
And
with
like I said,
and how the military would.
I tried to call Bob,
If
but
you
he
agree with
didn't
something,
answer.
you
So I
question
don't
it,
know.
which
At least
you'll
you
either
answered.
figure out
It's
you're
at
right
least
or you're wrong one way or another, but never just take anything for granted.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, those are great points, and I hear you have that last phrase.
something like that. Yeah.
I
Okay, what's
thought,
interesting? What's
for me,
interesting is that
it was
I'm watching it on
interesting
my
when I was
Mac,
growing up, just
and there's like a
at
5-second
some points
delay
kinda wondering,
between
like,
what
oh,
I'm
like, why
seeing
do I
on
believe some of
YouTube.
the things I do? Is it just because like I
Now,
heard my
what's
parents
even
say that,
now
that
what's
I just
even
kinda
better?
inherited it, or did I actually kind of come to those
Okay, I don't know
perspectives on my
why.
own?
I don't know if I'm interfering.
And I think that's a really important,
Oh
experience.
God, I
And
guess I
like,
don't
as
know
a
what I'm
father
doing.
now, I
But
got a
anyway, it's
10-year-old and a
working.
10-year-old, like, I try to
Okay.
be careful here because
Thanks,
they're
Jim.
certainly they hear me say something that I believe in this policy issue or that, and they unfortunately have grown up in a lot of politics in their
Yes.
life because of me. I want them to come to their own decision. I like when they try to ask me questions like, why do I believe something? And I think that's a very healthy attitude. Each one of you talked about it feels like a family, and you talked about how much you traveled around the world, and I'll get back to that, but I also just want to emphasize, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm sure you served alongside people from every corner of the
Yeah,
world.
I don't have a problem. I
And
go there all
so,
the time.
like that's, I think, a really remarkable experience. And something
I don't know.
I don't feel like
So I got to get back to
you know,
her.
people, and especially young people, get as much of these days. It's easy to kind of live within our little silos and our communities. And, I myself growing up, I didn't have too many opportunities when I literally got to meet people from not only all over the world, but from very different socioeconomic backgrounds, and different lived experiences. But is that right? Is that something that you think affected your ability to kind of understand just how vast this country is? And
Yeah, it
just the
should be.
different types of communities and people that are within it.
Hang on 1 second. I want to try something here.
Also,
1
most
second.
definitely. I mean,
yeah,
it's
I'm going
not
to
just
do
we think about like
on
the 50
YouTube.
United States.
Oh,
But I mean, I've had guys on my ships from Palau, Micronesia, American Samoa to go into
and that
South
don't make
Pacific,
sense.
Guam,
Okay. Okay, we'll talk to you later.
France, Nigeria,
Bye now.
Germany. I mean, all sorts of not just American possessions, but all over the world. A lot of the foreign citizens that joined the U.S. military were trying to become U.S. citizens and saw that as a quicker route to get there. But it's, you get a lot of different perspectives from, everything.
Yeah. No, thanks. And I think that's like, Jim was talking about when he was in, they had the draft, and I think that was something that really hit at every single facet of our society. And I think now, I hope, yes, there is a lot of diversity and a lot of different families, but I do want all of us to just recognize, that pool is getting smaller and smaller, and that there are just, there are a number of families that are really keeping our country afloat when it comes to our defense and our military. And that's, again, something that I worry about over the long run, that, people are starting to take things for granted in terms of just, the commitment that is there. So I always find it really remarkable. To the question that was asked earlier about why do people serve and join up, yes, we have a number of families that have a proud tradition of being in the military, and they are doing, a lot, to be able to make sure that we're continuing to have the defense that we need to. And again, that's on all of us to really think through what our role is and what our participation is in this broader American project, especially as we reflect on the 250th. So Kristen, why don't we see if we can get some more questions in the mix?
We are going to go to Emma Kavanaugh. Emma, you're live. Emma, you are unmuted. If you are still with us and you want to ask, you have the floor.
Might not be working there.
Yeah, not hearing anything.
Do you have the question that she was trying to ask?
Yes. So Emma was trying to ask. She said that she is a current sophomore in high school, and she's been contributing to the Library of Congress's Veterans History Project by interviewing veterans. The goal of her project is to archive the stories of veterans so that they aren't forgotten. And she was wondering, Senator, how you plan to help honor the sacrifices of veterans and make sure that their stories are heard.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think I saw did Emma get unmuted again?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, well, we heard the gist of your question, but if you don't mind, give me a little bit more context here. Tell me a little bit more about your background.
Yeah,
your work here.
I live in Glen Rock, New Jersey, and I've been contributing to the Veterans of Foreign Wars essay contest for a while, since 6th grade, and that kind of exposed me to a variety of veteran stories, and it got me really interested in the veteran stories and how much history they hold. And I found the Veterans History Project, and the goal is to make sure that these veterans, their stories are heard and they get archived in the Library of Congress so that anyone can hear them. And I thought that was really interesting. So I've started the process of interviewing veterans, and I interviewed one yesterday, and they just have such interesting stories, and I love hearing them. And I was just wondering what you were thinking and what plans you had to honor their sacrifices and make sure their stories are heard.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's amazing what you're doing. Thank you for doing that and for lifting up these stories. Exactly what we're trying to do here on this town hall, which is awesome. And you're right, it should be done in a much more systematic way. I've supported funding for public radio and public TV to be able to do, a lot of different programs that they do about interviewing our veterans, lifting up the stories in that way. Right now, we have this big, 250th anniversary commission that's really trying to tell the story of America, and so much of that is about working with the Smithsonian, the Library of Congress, and others to be able to document and again, tell this story of our country and tell and lift up the stories that veterans are experiencing. And look, it's not just about the the things that worked well and great. I've been also trying to make sure that we're lifting up veteran stories when about some of the challenges that they're having, and so we've had some really powerful town halls and other events and try to document the challenges that some veterans have faced when it comes to mental health, PTSD, traumatic brain injury, about exposure to toxic exposure, including Agent Orange and burn pits and other things like that, trying to make sure that we're really sharing the story, not just trying to make it seem like everything went well and great. There are some real challenges that are there, and it's important for us to document that as well. I've really pushed forward on a piece of legislation called the Learn and Serve America Reinvestment Act, which would make sure that we're helping resume federal funding to schools to be able to do this type of service-related learning. And I think those types of efforts will hopefully have more ways in which we can document that going forward. But I just wanted to applaud you, Emma. Just it's really great what you're doing. I hope that you found it fulfilling, and I hope that it's something that can get other young people really interested in paying attention. And again, making sure we're not taking things for granted. So I just wanted to applaud you on just the incredible work you're doing. Please, if you don't mind, keep us posted about it. And as you have things that are coming out, share with my office. I'd love to take a look at what you're doing. Hey, Kristen?
Yes. Next, we're going to go to Jean O'Grady. Jean, you are live.
Jean, are you there?
I'm trying.
Okay, I hear you.
Okay, good. All right. Senator Andy, always a pleasure to be with you and to be working with you for so many years. I'm grateful for all the stuff that you do for our veterans.
Do you want to introduce yourself to everybody else? So that
oh, sure. My name is Gene O'Grady. I'm the National Executive Committeeman for the American Legion. I'm a past state commander. I've been the liaison for the American Legion to Senator Andy Kim and Congressman Andy Kim for a great number of years. So I had the great opportunity to work with you. So I've got a couple of issues that I just want to, I probably know what your stance is, but I just wanted to bring this up because this is four matters for the American Legion. And one is the Richard Starr Act, Senate 1032. And, a lot of people call it concurrent receipt. That was around for a while. I just wanted to find out what your backing is. And it is bipartisan, and I don't understand why it's still stalled. But that's something that I'd like to hear you just say that you are you a co-sponsor?
Yeah, I'm looking up here. The Richard Starr Act. So, yeah, this is something that I have supported in the past. And honestly, it has overwhelming support for the rest of us, for folks to know, this is a bill that would allow combat disabled veterans with fewer than 20 years of service receive both their full military retirement pay and VA disability compensation simultaneously without a reduction. And I think that this is something that's really meaningful because, we want to make sure that, as I said earlier, our service members are getting and our veterans are getting all the help and support that they need. And representatives last year, we were able to push through. I was the ranking member on the military personnel subcommittee, and we were able to push through, the largest pay increase for our service members, especially those, as you were saying, E5 and below, those that are newer in their service, struggling more. And that was much needed because it wasn't just about a cost of living adjustment. This was something that was going to be, increasing every large just because they weren't getting enough. We shouldn't have this kind of situation where we have people in the service that are struggling to help support their families. I've been trying to push to get, healthcare for all of our troops, including our Guard and Reserve, which isn't guaranteed to them. And that's, something I hope we can address and fix. On the shutdown side, you're right. I mean, it's honestly offensive that members of Congress and the president get paid while others don't. I've forgone my pay because I worked as a career government civil servant before, worked through shutdowns before without getting paid. We should we should fix this immediately for this and try to end this and move forward and get our country back open. But also just in the future should never have the collateral damage of our troops and public servants not being paid. I'm on the Homeland Security Committee in the Senate and trying to do that for our Coast Guard as well, not just our service members under the Department of Defense, but also, our VA staff and those that are supporting our veterans, making sure we're pushing forward in that way. So, again, hopefully this is something that we can all recognize, is that the incredible service and sacrifice that our military and our veterans have done and are doing never should be something that we take for granted. And for those service members, those veterans that are listening, that is something that I hope that you take away from this as a commitment, and that we should make sure we're doing better for all of you. So thanks, Gene. And I know that I was looking through the questions, and I know that there are some that raised questions about specific veterans-related cases. That is something that my team will follow up with you on. We have veterans on our team that are and staff that work on these issues. We pride ourselves in trying to make sure we're able to help veterans navigate, whether it's your benefits or other types of issues or concerns. So we'll make sure that if you reach on out, we'll be reaching back to you and try to address that because it's so important.
All right, Senator, do we have time for one more?
Yeah, why don't we try another, and then actually I have a question too. So why don't you do your question, then I'll do mine. We can hear from our guests here, and then I'll close out.
Okay, great. So Destiny has a question for our veterans. Destiny, you are live. Oh, I don't know. We may have lost her. I don't know if she's still on, but it was a good one. So if she,
why don't I ask mine first, and then if she pops on up, that'd be great. But for me, all of you were talking about how you got to travel the world and be in different countries. I myself was on the diplomacy side and got to represent our country abroad. I wanted to ask you, what do you see as the value of American global leadership? I think Commander Cahill, you were talking about some of the work, whether it was with Ukraine or other actions that you've been a part of, and others. You've talked about some of the different countries you've visited. At a time we're having these discussions about what is the role of America, especially America abroad. Maybe Commander Cahill, you can start, but I'd just be interested in hearing from you. What do you think the importance is? As we're thinking through the last 250 years, we've seen our country, grow into such a global power. When we think about the next 250 years, I'm trying to think through what is our role, and how did you see it from your perspective? Oh, you're muted, Dan. Yeah.
Question. So I think the global aspect of the U.S. military, particularly the U.S. Navy, we have a presence basically everywhere, and I think that We are supporting and defending the Constitution all over the world. In the course of that, we have a lot of partners and allies that look up to us for guidance, for leadership, for training, for best practices. And I think that our global footprint really allows us to provide a level of support and expertise to our allies and partners that's really unmatched. And I'll just add, when we do stuff like that, all of our junior sailors, this isn't something that generals and colonels and admirals are doing. This is what our, E5 and below are doing. Interacting with foreign militaries, interacting with foreign cultures. And I think they take that back. They take all those experiences back. They are the leaders those countries are looking at. And they see how amazing it is to be part of the U.S. Navy, in my case, and to be Americans and the opportunity to have that level of influence around the world.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. Destiny, I think, is on, so maybe we can hear from Destiny, and then Jim and Stephen, are there any final thoughts you have on my question or Destiny's? Let's see. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, hi.
All right. Hi, my name is Destiny, and my question was, if you were giving advice to a young person who's thinking about joining the military, what is the most useful tip you could give? Like, what if someone's just getting started, they're interested, but they're not quite sure where to begin?
Yeah, really interesting. Jim and Stephen, anything you want to add on that or my question?
I'll wait for me to pop up. For the young person thinking about going into the military, it's a very important decision. It's not something that you can take lightly, but it will give you some really great satisfaction in your success. The country definitely needs people, and I'm sure you'd be most welcomed.
Stephen, any thoughts here?
Just ask a lot of questions. As I mentioned in my original remarks, I'm a teacher now at Middle Township High School here in Cape May County, and I teach the NJROTC, or for us, it's Navy National Defense Cadet Corps, using the Navy as a model of citizenship for the Navy. And one of the things I tell the kids all the time is just keep an open mind and ask questions. And just because our entire military is the tip of the spear, you don't necessarily need a rifle in your hands to be the tip of the spear and to be sent in harm's way. It doesn't matter whether you're frontline or logistics. Choose something you're going to do and do well.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, look, one thing I'll just add on that front is, some of our speakers here, attended different service academies that we have in our country. And that is one of the, greatest honors of my job, is that I get to nominate forward young men and women who are interested in service. So we have a number of different events and resources throughout the year, kind of leading up to that, giving people opportunities to hear from service members, from veterans, be able to reach out to people in their own community to be able to get advice, and ultimately if they want to pursue that potential way into service or others, please think of my office as a resource. And if that is something that you want to do, might be ways in which you can apply through our office, whether for the service academies, or we can point you in the direction of other ways that one can step up to serve. So, but I'm grateful that you're thinking about it. And again, service comes in many different forms. And I hope that we can engage. I've been often saying, I think we need a new kind of ask now what this country can do for you kind of moment, and just try to think about what it is that each of us can be doing to kind of step up in this way. But I just wanted, as we were winding down here, just thank our guests, thank our speakers. Really wonderful to be able to hear from you. I'm grateful that you participated in. This is my very first Veterans Town Hall that I've gotten to do as a U.S. Senator for our entire state. So I was very eager and excited to do this, and grateful that you participated. Thank you to all who listened. I hope that this gave you some thoughts, not just about their personal stories, but we are going to be entering the 250th anniversary of this country. I hope it's something that we reflect on, both in terms of history, which is just the extraordinary history that New Jersey played in the Revolutionary War. You know, George Washington spent more nights here in this state than any other state, and thinking about what that means for us and our heritage and our story, but also just what it means going forward. You know, the American project is not over. It's not guaranteed. It's not something we can take for granted. And those same values that were fought for 250 years ago, you know, it's on us now. It's on our watch. And the question is, what are we going to do about it? And I hope today gives you some greater thoughts about how to be able to serve. Not everyone's going to serve in uniform in government in a full-time way, but service can come in many different ways. Even about community work, things that we can do to lift up, you know, those in our own neighborhoods that are trying to do good work, and just paying attention and being an informed citizen, recognizing we have power not just on election day, but every day. And that's something, again, that we have that right and that ability because so many service members and others have fought for that ability for us to have that freedom. So just happy Veterans Day, everybody, as we get towards it. And just, again, let us make sure we take some time to be able to really reflect and thank our veterans in our community and make sure we're committing to be able to lift them up in their times of need. So thank you, everyone, and have a good rest of the weekend. Take care.
Oh, well. Okay. I guess we're on camera. I don't know. But anyway, thank you.